Hey everybody, wake up. This is Wake Up with Mark Joyner, episode number 30. And today we're going to ask the question, should you read the New Zealand Shooters Manifesto? Alright, I think we had some audio problems on the last time I tried this a second ago. If any of you guys watching this live can give me some feedback this time and let me know that the audio is actually working, that would be appreciated. I think I solved what the problem is. Before I talk about today's topic, let me just tell you a little bit about my day. So I got up at 4 a.m. this morning, started some real good, intense, focused work on stuff that I need to do to become the person that I want to become, to achieve the things that I want to achieve. Took responsibility for those things my own self, which is very, very apropos to the topic today, what we're going to be talking about. Did my morning routine this morning, as I always do. Okay, I think I see here that, yes, the audio is working. Thank you, by the way, to Mo from Manchester for alerting me of the audio problem on the last attempt for this stream a few minutes ago. Let's just dive right into this topic, guys. So yesterday I posted a question that I didn't think would be too controversial, quite frankly, but it stirred up a little more controversy than I expected. I was honestly a little bit surprised by a couple of the reactions to it. So I asked, and I'm just paraphrasing here, but more or less something along the lines of, does anybody have primary source for the New Zealand Shooters Manifesto? Now, some of the responses I got were a little bit hostile. In fact, there's one guy, and you know who you are, dude. I'm not going to name you, but you know who you are. Rolled in and came in pretty hot and even told me, fuck off. And he more or less equated me wanting to read the manifesto with justifying this mass murder. I replied to this guy a little more kindly than I think such a comment deserves. No, dude. Wanting to read the manifesto is not justifying mass murder. Do I even need to get up here and virtue signal and talk about how horrible that is? I'm a man who lived in New Zealand. I'm a man who happens to have quite a few Muslim friends of basically every race and just about every country. I'm probably one of the more tolerant people that you'll ever meet. So to come in here and accuse me of justifying a mass murder is just outrageous. Okay. And dude, you need to apologize, okay? Seriously, you do. Not cool. Totally not cool. But let's talk about this, okay? Because his response was not atypical. There are a lot of people out there who believe that we should actually censor that document. Now I want to ask you the question. So who's gonna determine what is suitable for us to read and what is not suitable? Now I can understand some of the justifications for wanting to censor it. Maybe it might inspire another shooter. It's possible. But it's also possible that letting people have access to that document will inoculate people against that. By reading that and seeing how the man thinks, they might go, well, if thinking like this leads to this, maybe I need to be careful about that. But maybe not everything in that document is wrong, right? There are probably some things in Mein Kampf that make sense. Okay, there are bits, and not that I'm justifying Hitler, by any stretch of the imagination. There are probably things in just about every cult's documents you could imagine that where there is a little bit of validity. And in fact, I know for a fact that that's true. And it's not the valid parts that are the problem. But am I reading this to find nuggets of wisdom? No, I want to understand how that man thought. I want to see for myself what led this man to take these actions. I want to understand that. I think we should all do that. I think it's our responsibility to want to understand that. Now, here's who I don't want deciding for me whether or not a document is suitable. I don't want journalists deciding that for me, and I don't want the tech companies deciding that for me. I don't want the government deciding that for me. Frankly, I don't want anyone deciding that for me. I'm a big boy. I want to read it myself. I want to understand it myself. I want to understand that document myself, and I don't want anyone determining that for me. Now, are journalists qualified to decide whether or not we should do this? I think journalists are supremely unqualified, and they have proven themselves supremely unqualified in doing that. And in just this case here, you know, a lot of the folks out there who are commenting on this on the left and the right are twisting what is in that document to suit their political agendas. There are guys on the right who are saying it's a communist document. Well, he clearly and flatly says inside the document that he is not a communist. Okay, now some people said, well, he says right there in the document that he's on the left, but he also says exactly the same statement about the right. You know, they ask, he has a little Q&A section in there, and someone, and the question is, you know, are you a member of the right? And he says, well, depending on how you define it, yes. And then he wrote, are you on the left? Depending on how you define it, yes. Okay, so for someone to come in and say that he is clearly on the left or the right is totally disingenuous. And a lot of the folks in the mainstream camp, you know, that want to turn this into an anti-Trump thing, they took a section in there where he clearly disrespects Donald Trump, and they elevated a little sentence before that that says he praises him. And they took that out of context and left out the rest of the context. So clearly none of these guys are qualified to decide for us how to interpret this document, because they are twisting it for their own ends. And the tech companies, you know, have proven themselves. I know a lot of people that run and own a lot of these tech companies. You know, I'm you know, one of the early pioneers of the internet. So you know, I'm not disrespecting tech at all, but there is a state of affairs in Silicon Valley right now where there is a particular political leaning. I think that's pretty clear. I think it's been demonstrated multiple times. It's not up to them to decide whether or not I should read a document myself. Let me say one more thing about journalists. I remember when the Hillary Clinton emails, the emails that were leaked by WikiLeaks, some of the emails that came across her server that was running out of her home. I remember Chris Cuomo on CNN got up there and says, remember, it's illegal to read these stolen emails. You need to learn from us what the contents of these emails are. No, dude, I don't need to learn it from you. I need to read it my own damn self. Now, if we're worried about people committing acts of mass murder, I don't think censoring information is the key to doing it. I think getting people to a point of physical and mental health is the key. I think that's the only way that we're going to stop these things from happening. Guys, I gave a long screed about censorship a couple days ago, and here it is, rearing its ugly head again. I think this is important enough for us to push back on things like this. Do not stand for censorship, guys. I will listen to many different points of view. I want to understand people that I even disagree with vehemently. Sometimes they will change my mind. Sometimes I will change their mind. We need to be engaging with each other to help each other understand these things, not cordoning off into camps, you know, and being so, you know, self-righteous about this that, oh, anybody who believes this is a terrible person. Something, you know, a good friend of mine more or less communicated to me yesterday. Frankly, it's disappointing. It's disappointing. But here's the one thing I will draw a line in the sand about, and that is censorship. And I think that's something we should all draw a line in the sand about, because when we have censorship, we can't even have these damn conversations at all, and we're not the ones deciding it. Someone else is. That's it, guys. Talk to y'all tomorrow.